It was midnight, and I was standing in someone else's home, alone, except for 2 sleeping children in the next room, and a growing sense that something was very, very wrong. She said she'd be back by 9. By now, my plans for the night were long gone. My mascara was flaking. The flat iron I'd packed never left my bag. I was supposed to be out with friends by now, laughing over drinks, maybe dancing. But instead, I was pacing between rooms, phone in hand, messages unread, calls unanswered, and every minute that passed sounded louder than the last. 3 hours late, and nothing, not a single word. I told her I needed her home on time tonight. I reminded her that I had a life too. She looked me in the eye and promised, swore she'd be home at 9 sharp. So why was I still here, brushing lint off my party dress and checking the window like I was waiting for a ghost? I've been babysitting for years. I've seen all types of parents, anxious, grateful, disorganized. But this one, this mother, she was different. There was always something off. Not quite neglectful, but detached. Like her kids were just logistics, not lives. But I kept coming back. The kids were sweet. The job was easy when it went right. And when it didn't, I told myself I needed the money, that it was worth it. Until tonight. Because tonight, something broke. Let me take you back a bit. I'm 28, and on weekends, I babysit, mostly to supplement my income. There was this one family, 2 kids, adorable, well-behaved, but their mom, let's just say she was chronically unreliable. At first, she wouldn't even tell me when she planned to come home. She'd just vanish. What started as just brunch turned into all-day outings. I'd show up at 11 a.m. and she'd roll back in at 7 p.m. No warning, no apology, just a shrug and a Venmo. Eventually, I started asking for set return times. I had to. My weekends were disappearing into this black hole of uncertainty. She agreed, but it didn't stick. She'd still show up hours late. No call, no text. She wouldn't even lie about it. She just wouldn't say anything at all. I should have stopped working for her a long time ago. But the kids, they were kind. They'd cling to my arms, beg for one more story, one more bedtime hug. I didn't want to leave them. So I stayed until this past Saturday. I arrived at 6 p.m. She was getting ready to go out. Heels, lashes, perfume cloud trailing behind her. She told me she'd be back by 9. I didn't just nod this time. I told her clearly, please be on time. I have plans tonight. She promised. I watched her drive away and settled into the usual rhythm. Homework, snacks, cartoons, bath, bedtime. At 8:30, I started getting ready for my own night. My friends were expecting me. I'd planned everything down to the minute. At 9, I waited by the door. At 9:15, I texted her. No response. At 9:30, I called. Straight to voicemail. At 10, I was still calling. Still texting. Still nothing. 11. Midnight. That was the moment. That's when I felt it. That sharp edge of dread. Not just irritation, not just frustration. Something darker. Like maybe she wasn't just late. Maybe she wasn't coming home. I left a voicemail. Calm. Measured. I said, if you're not home within the next hour, I'm calling the police. I have no way of knowing if something's happened to you, and I can't stay here indefinitely. I'll give you until 1. I also texted the same message. I know she read it. I watched the notification change to read, and nothing followed. Not a be home soon. Not a I'm sorry. Nothing. I waited another 30 minutes. I tried calling again. Voicemail on the second ring. That's when I made the call. Not 911, the non-emergency police line. They came quickly. 2 officers. Kind. Professional. I showed them the texts. Her written promise to be home at 9. Our history. The ignored messages. They tried to reach her. No luck. At 1:30 a.m., they took the kids. They were asleep. Peaceful. Oblivious. The officers carried them gently, murmuring soft words. I gathered their jackets. A small stuffed lion. A pair of worn-out sneakers. Then I went home. I climbed into bed. Emotionally empty. Just numb. At 3 a.m., the phone rang. She was screaming. "Where are the kids? Why aren't you here?" I told her to check the police station. She cursed me out. Every name she could think of. Rage spilling through the phone like venom. I hung up. The next day, she sent me an essay-length text. Furious. Accusing. Saying the police had called the kid's father. That a DCF investigation was now underway. That she might lose custody. That I had ruined her life because I was being petty. Petty. That word hit me in the chest like a hammer. I sat there, reading that message over and over. Was I petty? Was it petty to want someone to keep their word? Was it petty to need to go home? Was it petty to be scared? To not know if the woman who left her children with me was alive or dead or just didn't care? I called a friend, one who has kids, told her what happened. She listened, then said gently, "I think you should have just waited it out. Never sit for her again. But maybe the cops were too much. Was it worth the risk of her losing her children?" I hung up with a pit in my stomach. That friend's words echoed in my head for days. Was I wrong? Did I overreact? And then I remembered something. At 3 a.m., she didn't ask, "Are the kids okay?" She didn't say, "I'm sorry." She didn't explain. She screamed at me for leaving. She called me names. She made herself the victim. Not once did she acknowledge that she left 2 young kids in someone's care for 9 hours, ignored every call, every message, even when the police tried to reach her. Not once did she admit that she abandoned them, because that's what this was. This wasn't a scheduling mistake. It wasn't traffic or an emergency. This was abandonment. And I was the only adult who chose not to ignore it. So, am I the asshole? Because I couldn't keep being the only responsible one in a house where the parent didn't even check her phone? Because I refused to sit in silence while a woman with 2 children disappeared into the night? Because I called the only people who could help? Am I the asshole for caring more about 2 sleeping children than about keeping a grown woman's secret? Or did I do what had to be done? Because I've been asking myself this question every day since. And I still don't have an easy answer. But I know one thing for sure. If it had been an emergency, and I had done nothing, that would haunt me forever. So maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it wasn't what some people would have done. But I did the right thing. Even if I lost a client, even if I lost a friend, because sometimes doing the right thing means standing alone, even if it hurts, even if no one thanks you for it, even if it's just you, a quiet house, and 2 sleeping children who needed someone to care, even if that someone was me. So I'll ask you, am I the asshole? And now, a moment of reflection from the host. Here's what stands out about this story. It isn't just about lateness. It's about responsibility, boundaries, and the emotional weight of being the only adult in the room. This isn't a story about revenge or punishment. It's about accountability. The kind that's uncomfortable. The kind that forces people to confront the cost of their choices. Because when you become a parent, the clock doesn't stop. The rules change. Your nights out aren't just your nights anymore. They belong in part, to the children waiting at home, to the people you entrust with their safety, to the village you're supposed to build. And when you fail that village, when you disrespect their time, their care, their effort, you don't just burn a bridge. You betray trust. And trust, once broken, is not so easily rebuilt. So whether you're a parent, a friend, or someone who's ever been called too much for setting a boundary, ask yourself this: is being liked more important than being safe? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's okay to be the one who calls, to be the one who stands up, to be the one who doesn't stay silent when the silence starts to feel dangerous. What would you have done? Let us know in the comments. This has been AITA Story Vault. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay brave, and always trust your gut.